First question always is talk about your casting process and why did you choose each other as partners?
Okay, so we were already partners. So at the time we had been married, I don't know, 15 years. The reason we chose the show was we as a family just used to watch it every Wednesday night or whatever night it came on, the children, and that was something we would do every week. And it was just it was a show that had such a bonding atmosphere between the teams, for each person. And I just thought it was something that looked like we could do this. I mean, these other people can do this. Um, I thought that we would have a good time. And we had three children and we needed adventure and it was everything that we thought it would be.
So, what did you expect like running the race and how did that change from like sitting on the couch watching it as a fan and then actually being like, holy shit, I'm in Brazil, I'm in this race?
You want to answer that or you want me to since I've watched it a
Well,
lot?
initially I didn't watch it that much, and so I'm a dentist. I don't know which background you did, and I was real busy doing stuff, and I was like, I don't even know if I want to go. Once we were kind of getting down to the nitty gritty of going, and so it was kind of a little bit of a new thing. So the last couple of weeks, I had to cram in like some previous episodes,
Yeah.
and bone up on what was, what everybody was doing.
Yeah, so we practiced like we only had a short term. So you may not know, but you probably do if you've been interviewing. It's a very fast um process. They invite you to come and do your first um interview, and then I think it was probably less than
A week or two.
no, really, really fast. And so when they finally told us that we were accepted for the show, we had 2 weeks to practice or kind of bone up on it. And so we were running with backpacks on, and we were going around the neighborhood and working out. And um, I will say, being actually on the show and trying to prepare for it wasn't too different, except the I
I
would
should have
say
I
the
should have
stress.
prepared to carry my backpack and another additional backpack. That would have been better
I
preparation
was going to say the
because
stressors.
I was
Yeah.
wanting to run fast and like, give me your backpack. I'm going to run with your backpack.
But yeah, that was the only thing really. We were kind of good at getting around. We weren't too bad, but the dominant traits of us wanting to take over each of us was not what I anticipated.
Yeah, especially because you said that you weren't a type A personality and like was.
Yeah,
So
and
it was
I'm
really
not.
interesting.
In general, I'm not. I can't believe it. But I guess once we got on there, I was like, I went into, I don't know, mom mode or something. Let me take over. I can do this.
So you go to Brazil and you're like one of the only few teams that choose the motorcycle roadblock or
Hmm.
detour.
Right.
So how satisfying was seeing like everybody else struggle and you just slaughter through everybody to get to like the front of the pack essentially?
Yeah.
Well, especially since it was the first thing. So you go ahead and tell them about why we chose the
Well,
motorcycle
I
and
had done motorcycles as a kid or teenager, and so I had worked on them before. So, other people I think went for the helicopter thing. And then, it was actually pretty simple because it's like a motor, a gas tank. I mean,
it
it
wasn't.
wasn't real complicated if you halfway knew what you were doing, but the motorcycle was old and kind of rusty and, it wasn't brand new. And so, it was actually a little
A little
difficult.
challenging.
But I knew the gist of a carburetor and the things that were going on. And so I loved it. I mean, I was like, hell yeah, So, the only part that was kind of bad was we kind of got tangled up with Fran and Barry, and I was trying to give them advice, but they didn't even know like what the gas tank was. So I was like, I'm about to put this thing together for you. So
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
like, okay, the gas tank goes here. Okay, the carburetor goes here. And they cut some of it out, but I stood there for a couple minutes and I was like, look, they don't know anything. And so they actually got mad. Later on, they tried to like shun us and not give us directions um, when they could have. And so we made up, though. They ended up coming and visiting us later. There's been 3 or 4 teams that had come and visited Hattiesburg. So, that was kind of interesting.
That's cool. So after episode one, you finish, I think it's fifth place. So how awful going into episode two was that fire door roadblock where you're climbing up all those stairs and then you have to rappel? Because I live in a one-story house, so that's my worst nightmare.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's luckily, I work out and stuff, and but still 33 flights. It was 33 flights. I still remember, and of course, Jeremy and what's Jeremy and what's the other name?
Eric.
Eric were like weighed like 160. They were like 6'2", 160, 22-year-olds.
Yeah.
So I was trying to stay close to them, but I had to make darn sure I could beat the nerd team. What's his name? Dave. So I had to bust it pretty hard.
Because we weren't the oldest couple, but we were the second.
I was 30-something years old.
Second oldest couple, yeah.
Second oldest, maybe Dave. What?
Team.
Dave was probably.
No, they were young.
How old's Dave?
Maybe they were young. They weren't even engaged yet.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, we obviously he's competitive. He had to prove that he wasn't one of the old guys.
Yeah, so after that, you get on that giant bus. So how awesome was that climbing on the rock waterfall detour? Because you just smoked Freya.
Oh, it was amazing. That was actually, we caught on to that so fast. I was surprised because we'd never done that. We got the rhythm of that rope so easy. That one was actually really, really fun because it wasn't a struggle.
The most fun part was going down.
Right, of course. But going up was pretty easy, though. If you just kind of figured out your hitch and your pull, it was really pretty fun. And it was amazing sight. The view was just gorgeous.
Yeah, so how stressful was it getting like lost on the way to the pit stop? Like, did you think that you were last, or like what did you think? Because you were like in seventh or eighth place.
Yeah.
You think
it was so
stressful. Yeah, we thought we could be last. We thought there was one more team out, but we had passed them because that area there in Brazil was pretty small. We had passed teams during the day. We thought there was another team, but we weren't sure.
Yeah.
And so we were busting it, which we beat Danny and Danielle.
Yeah, we raced them to the pit stop. We raced them because we got out of our car and they got out of their car. And you don't know where it is, obviously, and it was nighttime, so we're kind of racing through the dark, hoping you don't like fall and bust your face open. That was actually pretty stressful. It was an eye opener to
competition.
The competition, exactly.
Yeah, so after that, you go into episode 3. So how awesome was it going on that zip line? Because that looked really fun.
We had already zip lined a couple times, so I was looking forward to it. It was that was something.
Yeah, and it was like it was probably, I would say, like a medium range zip line.
Yeah.
So we weren't really too scared on it. It was more like a fun thing. We're like, hey, let's zip down here. And it was on a mountain, right?
Yeah, it was at the top of a mountain and you zip line, and then we left for Russia. Yeah.
They had one of my lines there. They're like, it's cold there or something. Anyway, I remember that they told us we were going to Russia.
And we were worried
when we
were
were
in Brazil,
getting off the zip line.
Which Brazil was hot. And then they were sending us somewhere that was pretty cold.
Yeah, so when you get to Russia, it's obviously cold and miserable. So was that dive like really rough? Because you're from Mississippi and I don't think it gets cold there. So how bad was like diving in that?
No, it was actually freezing cold. Also, I mean, it didn't look super high, but it was like 30 feet. It wasn't like it was 10 or 20 feet. It was really actually pretty darn high. Yeah, so we had to get a little run start. But the worst part was getting my clothes back on.
Because you were wet.
Because I was soaking wet. Even when you dry off, it's still hard to put like full set of clothes on that are winterized. So it wasn't like you just put on a swim trunk or shorts or a t-shirt. I was having to put on, boots, socks, long handles, and jacket, and it was a real chore trying to get all that on.
So after that, why on earth did you choose the Russian doll needle in a haystack roadblock? Because that's like, I feel like one of the worst roadblocks that you.
No, we didn't. We didn't want to rush. We didn't want to wash buses.
We didn't want to get in the cold.
I didn't want to, get in the cold because we were going to have to wash buses.
I think Ray and Yolanda were going over there. We were going to go with them.
So we kind of followed. I can't remember. We followed somebody, but we also didn't want to get out in the cold again and get wet again. And so
It was risky because that was pretty tough.
it was pretty tough, but we got lucky on it too. We got lucky on a lot of the legs, except the last one, but we got lucky on a lot of things, just kind of finding them pretty fast.
Yeah, so after that, you finish in like second place, your highest finish yet. You're celebrating on the mat. What did
Yep.
you think when Phil was like, keep racing? Did you want
Oh
to
my
slap
God,
him
we were
on the head?
devastated. We were devastated.
It
Yes,
was
we were.
terrible. No, it was terrible. I hated it. I wanted to go strangle the guy.
We were devastated because we were like, finally, we came in second. We were going to get to take a rest and enjoy this, kind of good moment for us. And he was like, it doesn't really count. Keep on going.
Well, then on top of that, you missed the flight to Germany. So instead of being like in like first place by a lot, you were like in second or third at
Right.
that point. So that must have
Exactly. Yeah.
pissed you off even further.
Yeah.
But after that, how cool is it driving in that giant Mercedes Benz when it's going like 100 miles per hour and like you don't
Yeah,
even.
that's badass. I don't know if you've done much of that, but it was actually like well over 100.
Very scary.
The I guess stadium or whatever the track is on the sides, it is literally almost perpendicular. So when you go, you're at almost a 90-degree angle. The momentum is keeping you in the curve. So that was really cool. And we've done a little bit of nice cars driving and whatnot, but that was overwhelmingly probably the best car ride of any kind we've had as far as like a
Super
racing type
exciting.
situation because it's
Yeah.
really going fast. And the car is pretty small.
Yeah. We actually liked that leg a lot. We liked that area that we were in. It was beautiful. The countryside, it was like a picture.
Yeah, so was it tough navigating? Because you obviously picked up a guy on the street that was like halfway like drunk and he didn't even know where he was. So how was like navigating through Germany? Because it looked
Well, one of the
difficult.
things that's kind of been was interesting is a lot of things were closed during the day. Like not like here in the States where everything is just open all the time. And a lot of people get drunk. I mean, they go out drinking in the middle of the daytime. Here normally it's a nighttime thing,
Yeah.
right? Well, there it's a midday thing, and that we stumbled up on that guy, and it was the best thing we could find. And so we're like,
Yeah.
hey, we got to take what we can get here.
He did help us
But he
though.
did end up doing pretty good.
He did help us,
Yeah.
Germany.
Yeah.
So,
So we were in
we were
Germany.
with a drunk guy in a car in Germany.
So how satisfying was it after that whacking your husband upside the head with those bottles?
She
Well,
loved that.
I wish I'd had that later in the game when I really need to whack him on the head. But it was actually pretty fun. That was a pretty fun one because we were tired and, it was a stressful day because, we did kind of cross the countryside there literally. So it was and then you got to dress up in these cute little outfits that didn't fit worth a flip. So it was really, that was a fun one with the music in the background and dancing in the lederhosen. Yeah.
Yeah, so after that you go to Italy, and so you do not have good luck with your flights at all. You are in the back of the pack with Team Double D and Ray
I
Nalone.
know. I tell you what, that was actually kind of an unfortunate thing. It was a language barrier. So when we were at the airport, we got to the airport really good time. We were like, I think it was the boys and the hippies and us.
We were the
And
first ones there.
no, we weren't, they weren't the first, but we were one of the first. And so they were sitting around in the lobby, not really doing anything. They were talking and cracking up, waiting on the airlines to open. And I told Blake, I said, let's go down. There's got to be computers. Let's go down and see if we can book a flight on the internet. Well, they hadn't thought of that yet. But while we were gone, they were wondering where we went. So BJ and Tyler came and found us. Well, I was trying to do the computer, and similar to what we just had trouble with, I didn't know because I'd never used a computer in another country. I didn't know how to change it to English. So I couldn't read the flights. So I didn't know what I was trying to book. So they figured it out before us. And we ended up having to just go to a station and book a flight because it was really confusing.
Yeah, so you chose laundry instead of wielding that giant heavy rock. So how stressful was that when it's like a needle in the haystack and you're in the back of the pack?
I don't remember laundry very well, but I know
I
that
think we got lucky pretty quick.
yeah, I was going to say, I think we got lucky again on that pretty quick, that we found what we needed pretty quickly because
Could I help you do it, or you do it by yourself?
no laundry, I think laundry was us together looking for, yeah. But we got kind of lucky. We got lucky with a lot of things.
Of finding things.
Of finding stuff, yeah.
Unlucky with directions.
Yeah, so after that, you were not so lucky. Instead of going to the roadblock, you run to the pit stop. So did you actually think the leg was over? And then what did you do when like you saw Phil and you're like,
well, I saw people going up there. And so I knew it had to be so, and it couldn't have been one that was on flat ground. It had to be on top of a mountain. So you had to go up, the other mountain, come down, go all the way back up. So, I mean, we were beat after that. I mean, we were just glad not to be eliminated. That was a rough one.
yeah, so why did you yield Daniel and Danny over Ray and Yolanda? Because no offense, they were the weakest team there out of everybody, probably.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, I don't know, other than I think they were the ones that were directly behind us.
We knew, we weren't able to know exactly where anybody was. Mm-hmm. And we had seen Danielle and Danny, which we liked Ray and Yolanda. We were buddies, and we were kind of buddies with them, even before and after, whatever. But we weren't sure if Ray and Yolanda were still behind us at that time, or we probably would have just went ahead and done Ray and Yolanda.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how stressful was it building that statue lake when you're in that like Roman Colosseum and you know that like you're in the back of the pack and like you could go home at a certain point? Because I think the bottom 4 teams were all there at a certain point.
At night, yeah.
They were all there at one time. Well, luckily I had anatomy. I kind of backed in, I don't know if you noticed enough, but they had an extra piece.
Yeah.
And that was making the other teams go crazy. I just happened to put it together, and when it was done, I'm like, well, then there's just an extra piece. So, they were like flipping out because they still had an extra piece left, which that was pretty good directing by the producers or whatever to throw that in there, because that definitely threw a wrench in on them. But I was actually screaming and hollering at that point in victory.
After that, you finished in like 5th. You're really excited and exhausted, but you still stayed in Italy. So how hard was carrying that fish in the detour? Because you made it look easy. Because it was harder, because I remember, Michelle, you mentioned you're like, I have a 4-year-old child, and if I could carry that, this piece of fish is a piece of cake.
The fish was smelly and it's stinky, hard to carry. But yeah, it was, again, really, we found him pretty fast. And I think that's why we were kind of confused when he was like, no, this guy wouldn't just be giving us a fish, because we found it pretty fast. I thought there's no way it was this easy to find, carrying a fish. But yeah, I was used to carrying a baby and hauling around a bunch of junk. So just more muscles to me.
Yeah, so unfortunately, this wasn't seasons 1 through 5, and you had to split roadblocks instead of somebody doing all of them. So how nervous were you, Michelle, doing the water polo kayak roadblock, because it was your first one?
It was my first one. I know. I was a little nervous just because I had not done it, and I wasn't real sure how difficult they were going to make it. They didn't make it as difficult as I think they could have. Because you were in there, you had this camera strapped on you, and you're having to stay balanced, not fall in the water, and make, 3 goals, I think it was. So it wasn't as difficult, but it was nerve-wracking because it was the first time that I had been up to, it was all on me.
So going into episode 7, unfortunately, it's your swan song. So was it because of the fighting that made you struggle with like the directions and led to your subsequent elimination, or how did you mess up? Because I think people tend to forget that your pit stop was over like, I think like 90 minutes away from where you were.
Right. I don't think they explained that. Yeah, it was. It actually wasn't our arguing that got us in trouble on that one. It was a lot more than they showed.
The Greek, it was hard. Nobody understood what we were doing. We were actually ahead. We were in doing number really 2 well when we got started on the leg, after we went through the activity, not the roadblock.
When we found the flag or whatever.
Detour.
Yeah.
We were way ahead.
We were doing good.
We were ahead of everybody. We could see people because it was a smaller area, and we were going back and forth. And we got bad directions. Somebody said there's Rio here and Rion here, and they weren't spelled exactly the same. So we ended up actually going to the very top of the country, all the way to the top of Greece, and came all the way back down. Finally got on the internet and figured out where it was, and lost by like 10 minutes.
Yeah, we were lost for
That's
about
how far ahead we were.
We were lost for about 4 hours, which is what really hurt us, just because nobody, as he mentioned earlier, everybody's taking a nap. Like they take naps from like 2 to 4. We tried going to a school. They didn't know what we were talking about. We tried pulling into somebody's house. They wanted to
Pulled
shoot
a gun on me.
Oh my God.
and tell us to get off their property. It was raining. Really,
it was raining, which really added to the stress and headache.
Yeah, and
it got dark.
I didn't realize. So at the time, you think when you're asking people questions, do you know where this is? You think, well, why would you not know where this is? It's a major landmark.
Yeah.
But then now I think about like my own home state. If somebody were to ask me, do you know where this is in another town of even my own state, I may not know it. So, it just was a bunch of errors that added up to us being put out at the wrong time.
Yeah, we were tired, but it was basically just, if that person had said Fortress of Rion and not Rio or whatever, we were on the hood of the car. If they had never mentioned Rio,
we wouldn't have gone
and
the
it
wrong
said
way.
Rion, we would have been close enough that we could have figured it out. And so, I mean, I'd love to blame it on just one person, but if that person had not told us that
person had known more,
then yeah, we would have been in second or third.
It's all their fault we didn't win.
So what was it like bungee jumping? What was that doing like when you're doing it? Because that looked kind of fun, but also like nerve-wracking. So how did you feel doing that? Maybe like watching it back.
I can't believe I did it. I think it was just the adrenaline of I had to do it. It was, this is my turn to do something big, and I would never have done it. I don't even like to stand on the edge of a platform and look over on a balcony. So much less stand out there and just jump to my supposed death. But I'm really glad I did it. Like, I'm super proud of myself that I did it, that, we didn't really mess up getting to it. I didn't hesitate. They didn't have to talk me into it. I just was like, let's go. So I'm pretty proud of myself. That's one thing that I'm proud of myself that I've ever done.
So what did you take away from the race, like overall, doing those 7 legs?
That we are really capable of doing anything that we want to do. Travel is fun. The world is amazing. Since we went on the race, it's been like, where can we go next? And it helped me be unafraid of travel. It just made me want to do so much more because it was just so exciting. But I don't know about for Lake. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome experience. It's something that still, when I hear the music, the da-da-da music, I still kind of get a little chill, because when we were standing at Red Rocks and we had the cars and they're like, go, I still get a little adrenaline rush, a little emotional. I'm really glad the race they came along and provide this for people. It's not only great for the audiences, but it's a really great experience for the participants. Mm-hmm. That was something that I didn't think would be that overwhelming. I mean, it's been 10, 15 years or whatever, and I can still remember a lot of the things and the feelings. And it was a big event in our life, and we have a really great lifestyle. Things have really grown great for us financially and our families and stuff. And still, the race stands out as one of the most the best things that we've done.
Yeah, so I gotta ask, were you ever asked back for All-Stars? Because I know Eric and Danielle were the season 9 reps, and I know Dave and Lori were asked, but I honestly thought you were more entertaining than them. So were you ever asked to do another season?
No, I don't think so.
When we had talked about it, they just said that there was another married couple. We were the only married couple, and they didn't even put a married couple, I don't think, or they may have been an older married couple. Like, our demographic was not well represented in the All-Stars, the married couple thing,
I don't know. No, we didn't know. I think maybe we were just too exciting.
Yeah, I know
Well,
Dave and Lori were alternates, so I was like, if they're alternates, I was kind of shocked that you weren't asked back.
Yeah, well, maybe it was because we
yeah.
had 3 kids.
Well, I mean, if they ask me back now, I'll probably do it.
He would go tomorrow if they called him and said, "Hey, we got a slot open. Can you come on?"
So my last question is, obviously when you get eliminated, did you go to like an elimination station where you just like stay at a resort for like a week and then you get to travel, or were you like a decor team where you got to like travel with production and do like the roadblocks that like the final 4 and 5 get to do before the finish line?
We were one from doing that. So we were, when we got out, we were the last to come
We
to the elimination station.
we had to
Everybody
go
else.
sequester in Lisbon,
Yeah, we stayed
Portugal.
Lisbon, but yeah,
Lisbon, Portugal.
Portugal. Yeah, we were in Portugal, and which was great, but it was rainy. And we were the last. So by the time we got there, which was what, like 3 weeks in or whatever, they had already seen all the sights. They had already done all the Lisbon, Portugal stuff. So we sat at the hotel a lot. We really got some time with the other contestants that were there, and it was really nice to get to know them because you don't get to know them on the show. You're so into your own race, even your downtime, which isn't much, you don't really get to visit with them. So that was a positive.